Well, you guys, I caught up with our buddy Darth Dawkins again, but unfortunately, this is going to be a relatively short video and a relatively short interaction because although he does really like to say that he wants to talk to me, I don't think that he does. But you know what? I will let you be the judge. So let's get into it.
Mr. Anderson.
Hello, my name is Mr. Anderson, and I am mean to people on the internet. I'm always very polite about it, though. I just tend to ask difficult questions and insist on the answers. Shouldn't be a big surprise because I am, in fact, a lawyer. Now, I always like to go out and look for strong opponents, and one of the big names in presuppositional apologetics, which is just like fundamentalist Christians who like to argue about philosophy, is this guy named Darth Dawkins. And so, I was kicking around the server that he likes to be on, and I saw him, so I jumped in the chat. And the first time I jumped in the chat, my recording isn't very good, so you haven't seen that. But essentially, he asked me questions for a little while, and then he started getting a little bit, jumpy or antsy, and he kind of dipped out. I'll show you a little bit of it, but like I said, the audio quality isn't really that great, and of course, considering it's an audio-only server, the video isn't really much to write home about. But I mean, here are a couple of the highlights.
So, are you an atheist?
I would say I'm more of an agnostic.
Is your position that you suspend judgment about existence and non-existence of God?
I wouldn't say that I'm suspending judgment. I'm sort of split hairs here. I wouldn't say I'm suspending judgment so much as like that I just haven't quite been able to arrive at an answer that satisfies me. So it's like I'm actively trying to make that judgment. I just haven't been able to get to yes or no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So have you made a judgment about the existence or non-existence of God?
I wouldn't say that I've been able to come to a conclusion.
So that's the second time you evaded my question.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Have you made a judgment? Oh, of course you did. You purposely worded the answer to be evasive.
Okay.
I wasn't born yesterday.
Sure.
Now, either you are claiming you have suspended judgment about God's existence or non-existence, or you've made a judgment about the nature or necessity of God.
Okay. You know what? I don't think that I'm trying to draw a distinction here between what you're saying and what I'm saying, but I don't think that it's really material. What I'm trying to tell you is that I have not arrived at a conclusion. I don't think that I like the word judgment, but if that's something you insist on, take it.
Okay, so have you made a judgment as per the necessity of God?
I've clarified that for you. I don't like the word judgment, but I will concede to
your.
Like it? Yeah.
Have you made a determination that you? So okay. So
let's just go with let's just presume that I have not made a judgment. I know you like to say that I've suspended judgment. I don't like the word suspended, but I'll take that.
Okay. Now, have you made a judgment wherein you affirm the existence, the necessity of God?
No.
Okay. Have you made a judgment or a decision that God does not exist and the non-necessity of God? Okay. So you have suspended judgment about those two propositions.
I don't think so, but sure, if you say so.
Of course you have. You have not made a judgment that God does exist and that is necessary. You haven't made a judgment that God does not exist.
But I'm not suspending my judgment. I'm in the process of making a judgment.
Okay, yeah, you know what?
Just as I'm editing this, I note that Darth Dawkins is saying that if you doubt the necessity of God, that by definition means that you're denying his existence, and I don't think that's true. I think that it's certainly possible for you to question whether or not God is necessary to explain the physical world around us, and for him still to potentially exist in any event. I don't think it's correct to link those two things, as Darth Dawkins suggests.
You know what? Stop with the lawyerly responses, because I wasn't born yesterday. I'm not stupid. Okay?
As long as,
Now,
I've made my clarification.
Your position is that you're telling us you are without a positive judgment of acknowledgement of God, and
Right.
you're without a judgment that God does not exist.
Right.
Okay, so you have suspended judgment about God's existence.
If that's the language you want to use, sure. I've made
No,
my
it's not the
clarification.
language that I want to do. You know what? You're a very devious and deceitful person
Oh, you have
with
no
your
idea.
words. The answer is, I do have some idea, because you're putting it on full display right here. When you sit there and respond to me by saying, well, if that's the words that you want to use, that's not a transparent answer. That's the way a lawyer would coach somebody to act.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, most definitely.
I would agree.
So the fact of the matter is, you have refrained from making a judgment affirming or denying God's existence. That's
True.
your position.
True.
Right?
True.
Okay. So we just wasted about 10 minutes here when it could have been resolved in 5 seconds of you saying, yeah, I suspend judgment about the existence and not existence of God. But you decided you wanted to give me, legalese, deceptive answers.
Well, they're not deceptive, but go ahead.
Oh, you most certainly are deceptive. See, now you're lying again. Your answers were very carefully crafted to avoid answering my question transparently, and you responded with legalese.
Now, it could be that Darth just has a sixth sense for lawyers and that he's just picked up on that. I mean, I don't think that what I said there was particularly legal in any way, shape, or form. But you know what? Maybe he knows better. Maybe he's got sort of a sixth sense for these things. Or maybe, and I think this might be more likely, I had interacted with his minions before and they told him that I was a lawyer because they knew that. But you guys tell me what you think. What's your question?
My question is, do you suspend judgment about the existence of God? And the answer is, you claim to suspend judgment. You just don't want to use those terms.
Right.
But that's what, in fact, you're doing now.
Sure.
So that's what agnosticism is. Agnosticism is essentially the claim to suspend judgment, where one neither affirms nor denies God's existence.
If you say so, sure.
No, it's not if I say so. That's what it means. Would you like me to quote T.H. Huxley, who invented the term?
No need. Go ahead. What's your next question?
Okay. So your position entails that you have suspended judgment about the existence of God, but you have decided that you can speak about your world in whole or in part. Excuse me. Pick up from the middle of eating. You have made a decision that you can speak about your world without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God, right?
No.
Oh, so you have decided.
Well, hang on. Let me back up. I'm not sure I understand your question.
Oh yeah. Are you do you have a college education?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So then you shouldn't have any trouble understanding it.
We'll see.
Because I'm being very clear. Okay?
We'll see.
Now, your position is you've decided that when you speak about things of this world in whole or in part, you do so without referencing the necessity of God, right?
Without referencing the necessity of God.
Yeah. So for me as a Christian, when I speak, whatever I talk about, whether the sky is blue or anything else, I will be speaking with reference to the necessity of God, either explicitly or implicitly. You obviously don't speak things of this world by choice with reference to the necessity of God, do you?
Well, I think it's possible that I think when I make reference to things of this world, it's ambiguous.
Okay,
It's
again,
ambiguous.
another lawyerly type deceptive response.
Well, this time it's not deceptive. It's actually very precise.
Oh, you are most certainly are deceptive.
Well, I
wasn't
think when
born
you say
yesterday.
deceptive, I think what you mean is that I disagree with
Oh,
you.
no, it's not. I'm a grown enough man where I can know the difference between somebody disagreeing with me and somebody demonstrating a pattern of lawyerly like deceptive answers.
Well, not
Now,
everything lawyerly is deceptive. Here I'm
have
being very
you
precise.
no, it's not, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do, and I'm being precise in response.
When you speak, do you choose to speak on purpose with the intent of referencing the necessity of God explicitly or implicitly?
When I speak and I'm referencing the necessity of God, I'm allowing both for the possibility that he exists and that he doesn't exist. Because as you know,
Again,
I
that's
make no
another
mistake.
evasive answer.
It's direct
Another
answer.
evasive answer. No, it is not. It's an evasive answer. I said, when you speak, do you speak referencing the necessity of God? Do you do that?
And I've told you the answer. Why don't you move on to another? I don't think we're going to go around the list when it's going to get frustrating for you.
I'd like a non-deceptive response.
I've given
When
one.
you speak, do you reference the necessity of God explicitly or implicitly? Do you do that?
Sometimes. And to some extent.
Sometimes, no.
Sometimes,
because you
and
see,
to some extent.
Then you would have a kind of schizophrenia there.
Well, maybe
because
so.
Speaking with reference to God and without reference to God would be contradictory states.
Right. Sure.
They cannot both exist in the same model of reality.
That's true.
So,
here's
do
the thing.
you have a problem with cognitive dissonance?
Well, here's the thing. So
do you have a problem with cognitive dissonance?
No.
Okay. So which do you do? Do you speak with reference to the necessity of God, that things are only real and actual and have derivative intelligibility by virtue of God being the creator and the grounded being?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you choose to speak the things in actuality and having intelligibility without referencing the necessity of God? Which do? You do one or the other.
Let's try this another way. I do it with respect to some gods.
Listen to me.
How about that?
If you
with
give me another
God, with respect to your God,
if you give me another deceptive answer, we're done talking.
Okay.
So far, you have been very carefully and meticulously giving me evasive responses.
All right. Well, let me answer you directly, Darth.
Okay.
With respect to your God, with respect to doesn't matter how old I am. I'm old enough to know better.
I want to know what your life experiences are. Are you in your 30s, 40s, 50s?
Darth, I'm in my 40s, and I know you're in your 60s.
I'm in my 60s.
I know that.
And I
now let me
you
answer
something.
your question.
You are
no, I don't want you to tell me something. Let me answer your question.
Well, you haven't been answering my question.
Well, stop talking and
you've been giving. Oh, so now you're going to turn over a new leaf and you're going to be transparent?
Well, I've been transparent the whole time, but I've been frustrated.
No, you haven't. You're lying again. Wow, you are one pathological liar.
Well, I mean,
I'm
one frustrating individual.
I got 20 years of life experience on top of you, and you think you can pull the wool over my eyes. You think you can verbally pull the wool over my eyes.
I do.
Because you give me these deceptive, evasive responses. I wasn't born yesterday.
I know that. You're over 60. Now,
I'm asking you very carefully worded. Please don't interrupt me. I'm asking very carefully worded questions. They're very precise.
I know.
Okay? And you're giving me responses that are a pretense of answering. Why do you keep on interrupting me?
Go ahead.
You're giving me very carefully worded responses that are a pretense that you're addressing my question when they're not answering my precise question. And then you're telling me you are, which is a lie. Now, do you speak as an agnostic with reference to the necessity of God, or do you speak without referencing the necessity of God? It's a true dichotomy.
It is
Which
a true
do you do?
dichotomy in the event that we're talking about a God which is revelatory. I understand your God is revelatory. So with respect to your God, the revelatory one,
I'm waiting for
the
an answer.
to
Which
your
do
question,
you do?
the answer to your question with respect to your revelatory God, I do not reference that God when I'm thinking
While
of
we're
yours.
waiting, I'll grab a bite to eat.
Can you guys hear me? So the answer
The
to your
question
question,
is,
I know.
yeah,
Go ahead,
let's
ask
see
it
the
again.
answer.
Ask it again.
When you speak about anything, do you, by volition, speak with reference to the necessity of God?
So with respect to your God, the revelatory one.
No, sir, that's an evasive response. I didn't mention anything about my God. Okay, I said God. Okay, in Western civilization, God refers to the supreme being, the creator of all things that are not himself. Now, again, you're being deceptive again.
The answer is it depends on
Did
whether
your
or not
parents
God is
fail you?
revelatory.
Did your parents fail to teach you to be honest, or did you abandon their good training?
I must have abandoned it because they certainly taught me well.
Yeah.
Now, the answer to your question, in fact, is that the answer depends on whether or not the God is revelatory. If the God is revelatory, the answer is no. If the answer is he's not revelatory, the answer is
You're
I don't
about to
know.
get server muted, my friend. You're about to get server muted because on a scale of 1 to 10 of all the atheists that I've dealt with over 14 years, you're at about an 8.9, if not a 9 out of 10 in terms of being deceptive and evasive while pretending you're being transparent in your answers.
Hey, that's pretty good.
You are deliberately being deceptive in your answers, and you're giving me mumbo jumbo. Do you, when you talk about the sky is blue, does it reference the absolute necessity of God explicitly or implicitly in your model of reality?
It does not.
Good. Now, why couldn't we have you answered that way 20 minutes ago?
Because I needed to qualify my answer. Go ahead.
No, because you didn't need to qualify. See, that's another lie. So everyone in the room, see how this guy is a pathological liar?
I'm
You
not
didn't need to
pathological
qualify
liar.
your
I understand
answers
I'm very
because
frustrated.
my question was the same. The question was truncated, it's circumspect,
Yeah,
and
my
it's
answer
clear.
was
And
truncated.
you want to give me these lawyerly-esque deceptive answers. So you speak
know what my
without
answer is
referencing
subject
the
to, and
necessity
you know
of
what I
God.
mean when I say no.
Right.
You know
so,
what I mean when I say no. I mean no unless the God is non-revelatory. Now go ahead.
So you decided you decided that you can speak without acknowledging God until demonstrated otherwise. Right?
With respect to non-revelatory gods. Yeah, with respect to revelatory gods. Yeah, that's right.
Hold on a second. Okay.
Yeah.
See, what you're trying to do is trying to change the parameters, okay?
No,
so the fact of the matter, you claim to be an atheist, but you, by choice, choose to speak without acknowledging the necessity of God. Now, I'm sure, are you familiar, since you're college educated, with modus ponens?
I am.
Good. So if P, therefore Q, okay? If P, then Q, P, therefore Q.
I'm aware.
Now, if you affirm a proposition, and the proposition directly or indirectly entails another proposition, then you're affirming the second proposition. So you have invoked that you can speak without the necessity of God. Are we clear?
Not really, but go ahead.
Oh, so you don't speak. So you speak with the necessity of God when you speak?
I've told you. I've answered your question 3 or 4 times. Let's move on.
Okay. Yeah, no, is that so? You speak without referencing or invoking the necessity of God. So you're invoking propositions, right? So you're invoking propositions by choice that they can be invoked as actual and intelligible with no God needed.
Right. Or in fact, the
Well,
God cannot be.
well, guess what?
To
That
be more strong than that.
Would you stop interrupting me?
Well, I just wanted to clarify. Sorry,
So
before you go on.
dude, you're about to get server muted. I deal with teenage atheists who are less deceptive and more cooperative than you.
I believe it.
Yeah. Now, so you claim to suspend judgment about God, but it turns out you have made a judgment about God, that God is not needed metaphysically in order to speak intelligibly and about the actuality of things, right?
I'd go further than that. Sure, I agree
So
with
you're
that
agreeing
statement.
with that statement?
I agree
So
with that
you're agreeing
statement.
with that statement?
I'd agree with that statement.
Do you-
I'd go further than that if you like. I'd happy to do it.
Okay.
If you want to move on, go ahead.
So guess what? So in spite of the fact that you claim to be an agnostic, which culturally uh, connotates somebody who suspends judgment, you haven't suspended judgment about God. You've decided that you can speak with no God needed. That constitutes a de facto denial of the existence of God.
Right, with respect to your God. That's right.
No, I didn't say my God.
Oh, I
Okay,
did.
okay, listen to me. I didn't say that.
I know, I did.
You keep on trying to change the parameters of what we're talking about.
All right, you
We're
define your
talking
God.
about the
Define your
basic
God.
concept.
Define
Okay,
God then.
look, dude, if you keep on interrupting me, you're going to be out of the conversation. Do you conduct yourself this way in your normal day-to-day life?
Yes.
Well, that's a disgrace.
Some say so.
Yeah, I can imagine a whole lot more say so and some don't. Because, they don't want problems. The bottom line is here is you indirectly deny God. You don't explicitly deny God, but what you do affirm is an indirect de facto denial of God. Now, do you want to dispute that?
You know what I think. Go ahead.
Okay. If you're not going to be cooperative, which you have not been since the get-go, the conversation's going to be over. Do you want to dispute my categorizing your position as an indirect de facto denial of God?
What would that entail? Like, what am I allowed to do
Goodbye.
here,
Mute his dumb ass. You see, this guy is a very well practiced, well habituated deceiver and liar. Notice how many times I've asked him straightforward questions the whole time, and I get these evasive responses pretending to be answers to my questions.
They are answers to his
And
questions.
it's nothing but nonstop prevarication.
I'm muted,
So
by
we're
the
done
way.
with him. How many times? I want to ask the room. How many times did I beg and plead with him to stop prevaricating and being
0
evasive? How many times did I plead with him?
Prevaricate, by the way, is just another word for lie. So he's just calling me a liar. Which, I mean, I don't know. You guys saw it. I didn't lie. But, I didn't give him the answers that he wanted in the ways that he expected so that he could use his script. And he was kind of having to struggle to see whether or not he could, either go off script or stay with his script. And the problem was that the answers were, they were pretty close to his script. And so, he kept on going, well, I think I just need to go on with my script. And then at some point he's like, I feel like there's something here, something I'm not seeing. And, so he nopes out. And now he's going to have this little meta discussion about what a bad guy I am. But I feel like he's kind of complimentary at the same time, which is kind of weird but interesting.
Anybody care to pick a number?
It's okay if I'm too much for him to handle, I suppose.
Probably 25. Mr. Anderson turned it into a debate tactic, bro, response where he doesn't want to lose the debate.
On a scale of 1 to 10, he's at like a 9 when it comes to prevarication. Okay.
What's my number?
Who?
Squatch. I'm kind of curious to compare myself to him.
I don't know. I'll have to go look at my records on you. I would have loved to continue the conversation with him, but he made it absolutely clear of his persistent intent to give these evasive, deceptive, lawyerly-like evasive responses. So what is the point in continuing? I begged and pleading with him to stop giving me these evasive responses?
Well, it's because he knows the logical implication of your question, so he could foresee where you're going with the question and then try to avoid the implication of answering a certain way.
If only. No, I'm far more dangerous than that.
It's not a genuine answer.
Look, I don't mind people giving me answers that I fundamentally disagree with. But I do take issue when people chronically are giving me evasive responses. He's clearly practicing prevarication the whole time.
If he thinks that's evasive, like, he would not make a good lawyer. That was pretty direct and pretty responsive. Like, I mean, I deal with way worse than that on a daily basis. And I think maybe the fact of the matter is that he simply does not have the skills to get an answer out of somebody who is giving him answers, but just not in the way that he expects. Like, yeah, sure, look, it takes a certain amount of skill. I mean, it seems like maybe you just don't have it. You're just not that good. And that's okay. But, it's not prevaricating. It's certainly not lying to give answers in a way that you don't like. It's not even lying. It's not prevaricating to be evasive. If you're being evasive, you're not lying. You're being difficult. But, like, even in a courtroom setting, like, you're allowed to do that. It's up to the skill of the other person to make sure that they get the answers they're looking for and ask the questions in a clear enough and direct enough way that the person has no choice but to give the kinds of answers that you want. You just don't know how to do that. The second interaction didn't last very long because he started off essentially with an attempt at a get out of jail free card, where he insisted that I admit that I was lying to him on the first interaction, which of course it wasn't, but I was giving him answers that didn't neatly fit into his script, and so he was struggling with it, and that's why he bailed. And so he wanted me to admit that I was a liar, which of course I didn't, because I'm not, and so I was very quickly muted, and here's how that went.
Answers.
Do I acknowledge that I was prevaricating? Well, prevaricating and giving evasive answers are two different things, but I was doing neither. Do you want to tell me how I was prevaricating? Or do you want to tell me how I was giving evasive answers?
Wow, dude, you are a pathological liar. Have a nice day. We're done. Okay. What a scumbag.
I agree. I'm stepping in.
The guy was blatantly giving me evasive answers while pretending to answer my simple questions about the analysis of his agnostic claim. And he comes in again. You see, this is the problem with these people.
Then I met up with some of his lieutenants, and they said, "Hey, if you can kick the tar out of us, then we'll intercede for you. We'll get you to the final boss," as they said. So I said okay, and I kicked the tar out of them. And there's a video on my channel, which I'll link in the description, where I did that. And then I went in again, and I said, "Hey, let's do it then." And that didn't last very long. And here's how that interaction went. You.
Yeah. Do you have a previous history on YouTube and on Discord as identifying as an atheist?
I have a history of consistently identifying as an agnostic, but if you want to call me an atheist, I'm fine with it.
No, that's not an answer to my question. That was another devious lawyer-like obfuscation. The question I asked you was, do you have a history of identifying, hey, listen, dude, you're going to get server muted like you did last time. Just because you're a lawyer doesn't mean that you're smart. It just means you're smart enough to graduate law school. But you are one slippery, devious person. I just asked you a straightforward question, right? Have you ever in the past self-identified on YouTube or on Discord as an atheist?
I hate to tell you this, Darth. No, I have not self-identified. Others have identified me as an atheist, though.
Okay. Is it your position that you are not directly or indirectly denying God?
Is it my position that I'm not directly or indirectly denying God? Yes.
Okay. So, will you right now
acknowledge God as your creator?
Will I
Facto.
acknowledge God as my creator?
Yeah.
Maybe. What do you mean? Because if you mean, assuming that God exists and that He created the world, then sure, I'll admit that. And again, I'm uncertain as to whether or not that's the case. If you want me to admit that it's a possibility, I'm also willing to admit that. Or alternatively, some point in the future, if I get enough evidence that it's able to convince me, then in that situation, yeah, I would be willing to admit that He exists. It just really depends on what you mean. If you mean with respect to your God right now, then it would be a no.
No, stop with the bullshit. Do it one more time and you're going to be server muted, just like you did last time. Okay?
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
old
this is
enough,
painful.
you're smart enough, and you're educated enough not to be a bullshit artist. Now, I just asked you a straightforward question. Don't give me this maybe crap. I said, will you right now acknowledge that God is and that He's your creator? Will you do that right now?
If you're going to force me to take a stand, I'm going to say that I'm not willing to acknowledge that He definitely exists. I will allow for its possibility only. And if that means no,
Okay.
then
I just
no.
asked, I want a straightforward answer. Is the answer yes, I will, no, I won't? Which is it?
For the reasons
No.
I just gave and to the extent I just stipulated, no, I won't.
I mean, seriously.
Okay. This is your last chance.
He's saying no.
You have
It's kind of like he's only listening for that key word, and if I say anything else, he just flies off the handle because he does not want to parse nuance. He really, really doesn't, especially not with me. Give me a
the
clear
answer is
answer.
no. Okay, so you refuse to acknowledge the necessity of God, correct?
I refuse to positively affirm positively affirm the existence of God. Sure.
Okay, no, sir, that's not what the question I asked you. Do you refuse to acknowledge the necessity of God for everything?
How is that not the answer?
Goodbye.
Coward.
Seriously.
This guy is so habituated as a lawyer and as a human being to attempt to use semantics, verbal gymnastics, to lie his way out of it. And I really did want to mute him because I would love to talk with this scumbag. But he just can't help himself with being deceptive like he was the last time. Okay? And I really did want to server mute him. I did warn him multiple times that if he's going to do the same tactics that he did the last time, he's going to get server muted. You see, asking him simple questions is like pulling teeth.
You have no idea. I'm being way responsive with you. You want to see actual difficulty? Try taking on some of the characters I take on, and I get answers out of them. You just suck at this.
Yep.
This guy thinks he's real clever. He thinks he's real clever on YouTube, but he's not that clever. Okay?
I think I might be pretty clever because you
He's
mute
trying
me
to
every
lawyer
time.
you up and try to, out lawyer you when it comes to the question specifically asking. And I noticed he tried to answer in certain ways.
I mean, what kind of a bullshit response is when I said, "Will you acknowledge God as your creator?" He goes, "Well, maybe."
Right, because your question's not precise. In the future, will I? Maybe, if there's enough evidence. You dumbass.
Listen, he is a shameless, indefatigable liar. Okay? And he uses his lawyerly training and his mental, his semantical gymnastics to try to fool people. Well, it doesn't fool me at all. Okay?
You sure about that? You sure about that? That's why?
This guy said, "Oh, I don't indirectly deny God." Well, what did he just admit to? He said he refuses to acknowledge the necessity of God. Did we not all hear him say that?
Yep. Yep.
He outright refuses. I refuse to acknowledge the necessity of God. But he would have you believe that that's not an indirect denial of God. Oops.
I'm pretty sure that he knows that refusing to positively affirm that something is true and denying that is true are different. I'm like 90% sure that he knows that, and he's just kind of saying this for rhetorical purposes.
Of course, it's an indirect denial of God.
Sad.
And then finally, at long last, we had this interaction. Maybe I didn't need to, recap all that for you before, because Darth is certainly going to try and put his spin on it here. But this is, I don't know if this is going to be our final interaction, but this is kind of how they seem to go. And we'll see, we'll see whether or not it makes any sense at all for me to, talk to this person when he can't let go of his emotional support mute button. But here's what's going on.
You stated that you just quipped, "Oh well, Darth Dawkins didn't want to talk to me." Why did you lie?
Well, I mean, I'd love to talk to you, Darth, but I worry that, I'm going to very
You're
rapidly
not
knock you
answering
off
the
your
question.
script.
You're not answering the question, and
I
that's the
know.
fastest route to you being muted again. I was more than willing to more than willing to converse with you on the 2 prior occasions where you showed up. But in both instances, especially in the first, you decided to persistently engage in obfuscation and prevarication. And that is why you were server muted at the tail end of that. When you showed up the second time, I was more than willing to talk with you again under the proviso that you acknowledge that in our previous conversation, you were engaging in persistent prevarication, right? You refuse to acknowledge. Okay, in the second occurrence, you categorically refused to admit before people in the room that you were prevaricating. Okay, and that is why you were muted. Not because I didn't want to talk with you, but because you were being dishonest. But when you did that
I
video,
appreciate it. You know what
that
I'll
recent
do?
video where,
You know what I'll
hey,
do?
please do.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Anderson, when you did that video, your little quip about me was a deliberate deception. Was it not?
Damn.
I don't think
Was
so,
it not a
Darth.
deliberate deception when you said,
No,
Darth
it
just
wasn't.
didn't
And let
want
me
to
tell you
talk with
why.
me?
No, it
I'm
wasn't.
asking you a fucking question.
I'm
Okay,
answering your
you're doing
question.
it again. Were you not deliberately misrepresenting what transpired when you said in that video, "Oh, well, I wanted to talk with Darth Dawkins, but he didn't want to talk with me"? Is that what happened?
Do you want to hear my answer? Or are
Is
you going to
that what
interrupt me?
happened? Is it when you came to talk with me, was it because I just didn't want to talk with you?
I think so. I think that
Okay,
you're
you're a
afraid.
liar. Goodbye. Mute his dumbass.
Ah,
you know what?
uh,
You are
you know what
you
I
are
think?
one
I think that when
you
you
are
say
one fucking
dishonest,
liar.
you mean
Don't
that
swear.
I am too much for you to handle. That's what
Okay,
I
mute
think
this
you
guy,
mean.
please. Mute this guy. No,
Yeah.
you're a pathological liar.
And
Okay,
that's another
and
synonym for
mute him.
too
Mute.
tough.
So
Please,
sad.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would love
Please
to see
keep
this
him muted.
message.
This guy is such a pathological liar. He's so accustomed to lying that it's a way of
Mhm.
life with him. Okay, he did in his video. He says, "Oh, I tried to talk with Darth Dawkins. He just didn't want to talk with me." That is a complete, utter distortion and misrepresentation of what happened.
Well, I'll post this and we'll
Okay,
see whether or
so the
not people
first time
think
I
that.
talked with him, never once did he acknowledge all of the multiple times that I accused him of flagrantly obfuscating and prevaricating.
Oh, I'll
Okay, the
acknowledge that you
second time he
flagrantly
showed up,
accuse people of
I said
obfuscating
that
and
I would be
prevaricating.
more than happy to talk with him.
Why didn't you do it, Darth? Don't you want to be happy? Come on, man. That would make me happy too. Let's make each other happy. What's wrong with you? Why don't you want to be happy?
But I first wanted him to acknowledge that he had a prior history, the previous instance, I should say, of prevaricating. Okay, which
Right. which
he
was
said he would
a
upload the
nice
video.
way
He
of.
never did. Okay. He told somebody else, oh, I'm going to upload it. Yeah, never did. Okay.
Are your feelings hurt that you haven't been uploaded? Well, you're uploaded now. I mean, you know, you should probably try actually talking to people instead of just muting them, because, you know, you can't really get enough footage to upload if you're too afraid to talk to me. You know, I mean, this video is basically going to be like a compilation of you muting me because you're afraid of me, which is fine. I mean, you know, why don't you just say, like, hey, you know, Mr. Anderson, you know, I'm a little bit intimidated. You know, I don't want to have to tangle with you because I'm afraid to lose. You know, I think you're better at this than me, and I'm afraid of losing. So I want to kind of try and dodge you. So just back off. You know, if you said that to me in private, I would probably not even post that, and I would just respect it. But, you know, when you kind of play it out in public like you're this tough guy, but you actually just run, I mean, I got to kind of call you out because you're full of, you know, you're full of baloney, man.
Second time the guy lies. Okay. The guy just lied about his own video where he lied, where, well, Darth just didn't want to talk with him. There was no mention whatsoever that he was blatantly prevaricating. Okay. What a lying piece of garbage. So
Blatant
now he's going to
prevaricator,
peddle this little
my
thing that
friends.
well, he's just too much of a giant of an intellect for Darth to handle. No,
Seems
you're
so.
just a
Yes.
well-trained graduate of law school
Yeah.
who is well practiced at being a lying little scumbag. And once
I
somebody
think that's another way of
flagrantly
saying the
lies
same
to
thing.
me and about me, and it's crystal clear, I'm done with you. You are a lying scumbag.
And just for everybody, lying scumbag is another way of saying, you know what, Mr. Anderson,
Darth, what is
too
ultimate and
much for
fundamental
me.
and necessary that dictates all possibilities and impossibilities?
Nothing that pisses me off more than somebody just outright lies to my face and they know that I know they're lying.
Do you guys think he knows what lying is? Like, Darth, if you ever see this video, lying is when you say something that you know is untrue. So when I say that I have nuance in my views with respect to agnosticism, that's not like a lie, because I actually think that. And when I refuse to answer your questions in the way that you like, that's not lying, right? Because I'm not actually saying anything that's untrue. What you're thinking of is that I'm tougher than you want me to be, right? That I'm not cooperating with you. So I'm not a liar, I'm uncooperative. You could say maybe I'm mean, you know, I'm not being very nice to you, I'm not being very cooperative with you. That's not lying. When you say that it's lying, you know what that is? It's lying.
Okay. You know, I don't have to agree with somebody. Somebody can, strenuously disagree with me on something. But
That's
when
not
somebody
true.
makes it abundantly clear to me that they're lying and they know I'm lying, I'm done with them. Okay?
I know he's misspeaking here, but I think he accidentally said the truest thing that he said in this whole segment, which is when somebody makes it abundantly clear to me that they know I'm lying, I'm done with them. Yeah, Darth, I think that's probably true. When somebody has your number and they know that you're full of shit and you know they know that, then that's when you disengage. And it became clear to you that that was the case for me within the first interaction, and that's why we really haven't had anything else.
Yeah, Mr. Anderson, you blew your opportunity. You
Oh
wanted to be a
no.
little prevaricating, obfuscating little scumbag, and then you decided you want to lie about it more than once. You blew your opportunity. Okay? You're a
Oh
lying little
no.
scumbag.
My opportunity.
Could we?
Well, somebody has an inflated sense of their own importance. Well, you know, if I've lost the opportunity, then I guess that is just something that I'm gonna have to live with, and you know, just try and live my life as best I can, having just blown the golden opportunity of letting you railroad me into answers that I don't agree with. You know, I'll live.
Could we bury the hatchet and move on, Darth? Can we move on?
Yeah, I think I just buried the hatchet nice and deeply.
I think that's true, but it's kind of more of a self own than you think that it was, because what you've done here is kind of shown definitively that you're a coward and a bully. So, you know, congratulations. So yeah, that was my interaction with the supposedly great Darth Dawkins. I mean, I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed. I heard he was good. I actually prepared a little bit for that guy. And, you didn't really even get to see a bunch of the stuff that I had cooked up for him, because he wouldn't even engage me. And, I mean, as much as I think that there is some truth to the notion that he's specifically afraid of me, unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident for him. I mean, he is apparently kind of running from sort of everybody that that shows him a whiff of opposition, which I think kind of means that he sort of just he established a reputation, right? And I think he might be kind of afraid to lose it. So whenever he senses strong opposition, he is running, and it's not just from me, which is disappointing. It just is. I mean, I was looking forward to painting a masterpiece with his blood, and I don't get to because he won't even fight me. But that's sort of on him, right? And as disappointing as it is, I mean, that's where the guy is now. And I mean, I guess this is just it's a sign, it's an indication of the decline of Darth Dawkins. So, I mean, Darth, if you ever do see this, if you want to kind of prove me wrong and you actually do want to tangle, then let me know. But I mean, I'm kind of through chasing you. I think, I don't know, maybe I'll give him another shot, but I don't know. You got to show me something, man, because I don't want to waste my time. I want to find somebody who's strong, who can fight. That's what I'm interested in. So, anyway, you guys, thanks for watching, and see you next time.